Welcome to the Beyond Coaching podcast. This one is going to be a little bit different. I've got my co-host here, Max, and you've got Zack here. And today we're diving into the ins and outs of CoachLogik, building the platform, pulling back the curtain, going over the wins, the mistakes, and what we've learned building a coaching software for coaches like you. Max, let's get into it, man.
Yeah, dude. I'm excited. This is going to be good.
If you had to sum up building CoachLogik in one word so far, what would it be?
Easy breezy.
Let me give you a sentence. Let's get real on this.
A sentence, I would say it's like you're trying to do open heart surgery by banging your head against a brick wall. Does that make sense?
Yeah, close enough. You know, the clip of you talking about businesses riding a lion the other day actually went kind of more viral.
Oh,
So
yeah?
that was pretty cool. Yeah.
That's a good one, dude. It's a good one.
Dude, I mean, and one of the reasons I wanted to record this episode is I think it's super cool to peel back the curtain and let the coaches know who use our software, what we're working on, you know, what we're doing, why we're doing some things and saying no to others, the bugs, the issues that we've dealt with. And so I just kind of want to get into some of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, let's do it.
I guess, like, what's been your biggest takeaway? And let's call it, I've been on this product. So we launched the native phone app in March of this year. And I've been around, you know, since like January, February-ish.
Yep.
So since I've been around and with March, like, what have you seen since we've launched this app and we got a bunch more people on it? What have you learned?
So it's hard to say like when I learned it, because the last, like, I didn't even realize it was September. I thought it was like April. Time just changes your perspective. Like you don't realize how fast time can go. You were saying the other day, you were saying a few hours ago about how it's like almost December, right? It's like been almost a year. I would say, like, over the course of that time, what I've learned in this process is that, and it's not even like learning, we kind of knew this, but I would say the biggest thing is the kind of customer you're attracting, the product you build right away is not necessarily the exact product that, like, to build a product and have it hit a certain market is very hard. To be like, I'm going to build this thing and it's going to land on this guy and those are the people who are going to buy it. That's challenging. But what you find is a lot of times you build the product, you have an idea of what it's going to do, the problem you're solving, and then you start to get it into the real world and find that, oh, wait, the kind of person we thought is going to adopt this is different than what we expected, right? And so it's easy to be like, oh, I'm going to build an XYZ device that does this for this group, and then find out that, like, oh, this other group is using it for like a very different kind of reason. And there's way more of them and they really want it. And so you have to be super ready to pivot's the wrong word because you're not really pivoting, but like to adapt and be like, that's the better person to go after. Don't go after these. They're not going to switch. Go to this adopter or whatever. That's probably one of the biggest things I've seen so far in the last, several months.
Yeah. Or just like even learning to say no to things, because what I've learned in this development world is, we can build anything. Like anything can be built. We could build someone is like, oh, can this schedule my personal training appointments? Like, yeah, we could build that. Like, we could build that tool and it would take weeks or months or whatever, maybe weeks, and then have something out. But it'd be clunky and it would suck. And that also means that in that 3 weeks, we didn't do something else. We didn't do something else that probably matters more for people. And what I always like to tell our coaches that I get to meet with, it's like, look, we're never going to be your calendar booking software, your gym POS system. What we're going to do is be the best training platform, the best app to write programs for your clients to give them the best experience possible. And that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. What you say is such an excellent point too. Like, the idea of saying no is so, I know it's like an Elon thing, but like the best part is no part. The goal should always be to delete shit and get rid of stuff in our product such that the only thing that's left once we're sitting there is exactly what somebody needs. And when they open it up, when they touch it, makes complete sense as to why it is the way it is. And when you think about other products in other spaces that do it well, it's like, that's what they are, right? It's like, Go High Level is a good example. Like, Go High Level is a complex piece of software. It's a customer management system. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on there, but it doesn't have like a live streaming mode. It doesn't have they could do anything. They have giant software teams. They could build whatever they want, but they don't. They don't build the other little shit they don't need. And, it's like whenever you see software that does that turns into the Cheesecake Factory, where it's like, You're doing too many things. You know they're not going to be good. The tacos at Cheesecake Factory are not good. I mean, fine, whatever, but like they're not as good as the taco truck. The taco truck doesn't make cheesecake. And so to that point, you have to be saying no to more stuff than you're saying yes to, I think, in the end.
100%. And it's so hard too. Like I'm meeting with a lot of the coaches and our best, I feel like the people that adopt this thing, they're either coaches who didn't have a system before that are looking for a clean system to manage their client relationships and coach and write really good programs, give great feedback, or they're coaches who maybe were on an app that was good at one point, but is outdated because that app, like we were just talking about, maybe turned the lights off 5 years ago and walked away. And the thing is, if you create no more new features, that means there's no more new bugs. So you don't really need a development team
Yeah,
anymore.
that's true.
And so they're switching to us, and it's important that we keep our foot on the gas. But yeah, I mean it's interesting. Like I think a lot of people probably don't realize the complexity. I know I didn't realize the complexity that goes into the strategy of building something like this. And I think the strategy is the most important thing because it's so easy in this type of business to go on some sort of side quest
Yeah.
and get just muddied in those waters for so long, and then you look back and you're like, what did I even build? What was even built here? Like, give me
Yeah.
an example of that that you've
So
even
many,
seen.
so many things, right? Like an example, like in the product, not to rag on or anything, but like you don't know exactly, like, because a lot of stuff is like conceptually, like nothing like this exists. So you're conceptually like, okay, what do we need to do? We got to build this, we got to build that. It's going to have these functions. So you're like, okay, well, this should be a separate page than that. So like long-term planner is a core function that we wanted to have early on. And then on top of that, we have like an analytics page. And then you realize like these are the same, they're doing the same thing. The analytics hasn't been updated because it's like we're going to get rid of it, because the reality is that the AI element that we've started to build off of is going to be able to just do that for you by asking it. You build a prompt it to say like, give me whatever, compare these 2 months. We have this analytics page that we spent a bunch of time and effort like drilling into, let's build this, let's build that, do this. And then you look at it and you're like, why are we here with this? Like, what is this doing now? It's not serving anyone's purpose. That's probably one of those things I look at all the time and just like, let's just turn it off. Like, let's just turn that page off because it simplifies the app. And there's so many things like that we've done where it's like you start off with a good intention, and then you realize that everything you choose to do requires other things to exist. And then you end up in a place where you have software that has way too many weirdnesses in it. Like one-way streets is what I call them, where it's like it does one thing and that's it. And it's not helping facilitate the flow of the coach to the app. It's not facilitating doing the job, better or faster.
And I think like one of the things that we've now, I'd say in the last 90 days, we've gotten really good at is we listen to obviously our coaches, and then we're starting to listen, get more feedback from athletes using it as well. And actually figuring out like, okay, what is something we can solve that's like reasonable, and what's something we can pursue versus what's something that we should shelf for now because it would probably distract from like the main components. I like what you said about building like these one-way streets. Like it's almost like your private jet's getting delivered in December. Why would you go build a Cessna in the meantime? You're not even going to
Yes.
use the Cessna.
Yes.
It's like it's going to be finished like a week before you get your private jet. So like, what's the point of doing it?
That's such a brilliant like observation and so true. It is like being able to manage and plan is so critical in this process to say, this is where we want to build in 5 years or in 6 months. Here's our roadmap. We're building this. Everything between now and then, we don't need to build an intermediate version of it or a whatever or this or that. The caveat to that is it's very easy to fall into the trap of saying, oh, we're going to build this thing and it'll do all this stuff. And then you never build that stuff. And then you get to that point, you're like, oh, it can't actually do all these things. So we didn't spend the time to figure out if technologically it would work. So then you have this game in your mind of like pushing it out. Oh, it'll do this one day. It'll do that one day. It'll change your tires and, wash your clothes. And you're like, you get there and like, oh no, it's a clock. That's all it can do. Right. So on both sides of that, you have to be cautious about it. And it's very much about, there's many strategies, right? You can go from the Apple strategy, which is to say like build the thing, perfect it, make it flawless, make it great, completely just take your time and deliver an absolutely perfect finished product, right? Software wise or hardware wise. Hardware is a little harder. You have to kind of make it right. But in this, it's like the other method is to like move really fast and be really aggressive and like push features out. They're going to break, they're going to fall apart, but you're going to get learnings you couldn't get outside of that. And so there's a fine line of pushing things out quickly that work the way you expect them to and operate exactly as you want. And then things where you're like, you push it out so quick that you're like, hold on, we need to kind of pull back and fix that. That's not right. And we run into that a lot. We have a small team, so we're constantly trying to go fast. And hey, we push something out and you're like, hold on, wait, that's not how it's supposed to work. Pull it back, fix it, push it out. We want that feedback loop to be as fast as possible with software because you can build it again. You can fix it. You can change it. If you're getting the kind of feedback from actual customers that tells you this is right, make it do this, make it do that, you won't waste time building what you think they want for 6 months, delivering it. And then they're all like, oh, no one wanted this,
Yeah. It's almost you and I speak an analogy all the time, I've realized, but like
Yeah.
it's good. It's almost like if you're gonna let's say before GPS was created and you're taking a road trip, like if you take time to probably map out the trip before you go, what time you should leave based on traffic and where, the pit stops and what roads to take, it's probably better than saying I'm just heading north and then all of a sudden you drift east and you drift west and it ends up taking like 2 times the amount of time to get
Yeah.
there and cool, maybe you did a bunch of stuff along the way but it didn't matter because you didn't get to
Yes.
north or didn't get to the
100%.
end point. And I've noticed that with like stuff we've dealt with where I remember when I first hopped on and I was talking with coaches and getting people on the app, it was like, oh yeah, I would always tell you, oh, people want nutrition and then they want documents being stored like in the app that they can give to people and they want readiness checks and and all of these things are good.
Yeah.
These are good things. We want to do these things and at some point we will. But it's like we can't add those parts to the machine until like the current machine is where it already should be. Like we're trying to add like new parts to like a beat up Camry, and then we need to fix up the current vehicle we're in, right?
100%. Yeah. A lot of it, a lot of this too is like it's always a game of management of everything. It's capital, human resources, whatever it is. Like you have a finite amount to do every day, every week. And I mean, you got, three of us 100% are working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Everybody's working an enormous amount. And you have to say, okay, what is the most effective way to use our time? And it always is this weird balance of like, you're making decisions about like, do we want to try to get more growth or do we want to try to shore up some kind of thing? And we try to do both of them. And you end up, when we try to do both, you end up struggling because you're not going to get the thing done the way it needs to be done.
Yeah.
Time
Yeah.
management and project management, I think, is like the last few months for me has been like my most exciting thing because like I feel like I'm like the better we can do that, you have like it's like having like project management is like now you have this like I can control it all from here and be like, do this job, do that job, do this task. And then you have a chance to check in. Was this done? Was that done? Did you deliver it? And if they don't, then you have an actual measure and you can start to see the emergence of lateness when it's like, hey, this was supposed to be done in 2 days and it took 4. Like you need to recalibrate.
Yeah,
Because
actually, let's
that's
talk
not
about
helping.
that. So I know, being obviously on the inside in the last 90 days, like our entire workflow has shifted.
Yeah.
But take me through where it was before for you and like now where it's at today.
So when Kush and I started working on it kind of in our free time, like, as a second project, it was like, okay, this is what we want to build, right? And it's like a lot of conceptual stuff. And even then, it was wrong to do it that way. It should have been design exactly what you want this to be and then strip down to what's the MVP version and build that and go from there. Strategically, having a plan of like, it needs to do these 5 things. Those are our requirements. Once those 5 things are done, we can say, okay, now the next thing is done. Build the next thing. Every feature you do, everything you build needs to have that. And in the past, we would do a lot of like, there were features, I can tell you right now, there's features that were literally like, we talked about it for 30 minutes. Kush is like, let me build it right now. And it's more of like a prototype. Let me show you what it would be like. Cool, we do it. And then it's like, okay, but we didn't take the time to like define this, define that. What are the 5 requirements? What are the 3 requirements of it? And then you end up with something where like, we need to come back to this, but it's valuable and it's in the app. But we need to come back. A good example is a live feed. It's a very valuable feature. I really like it. I use it every day. I leave it open on my computer And as somebody does stuff, I comment. So I'm like trying to deliver feedback throughout the day, throughout the week. It actually helps me distribute that workload so I can like kind of like a pressure valve, like nothing
Mhm.
builds up that bad. Not everybody uploads immediately, but you get a chance to address something right away. But the notifications there should do two other things. They should disappear when you click them. So it
Mhm.
should go away when you click it. And you should have the ability to swipe and get rid of somebody from the list once their training is done. I don't want to have to
Mhm.
keep looking at that person, right? And the funny thing is, a feature like that seems so simple when you describe it. A notification goes away when you click it. But then when you talk to the engineering, it's like, well, hold on. There's a lot of stuff. The database has to have multiple states for each notification. What happens if two different coaches see that notification? Do they both see it as read? So if you left a notification for me with a video, and then I'm your coach and Kush is your coach, and I see the notification, does it disappear for Kush too, or does he have to see it and then it disappears? Like iMessage, right? Like in a group chat, I see your message and then it's no longer unread, but someone else would see it
iPhone.
as read. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, I never thought about that. And then he's like, okay, so we have to like go through, which makes Kush amazing because he's so good at this. He will instantly start thinking about all of the use cases, the edge cases. Then you have to think, okay, that's a lot of engineering now. We have to actually dig into this. It'll take him 2 days to do it, but it's like, that's a lot of rebuilding of, the database has to do this and that and these queries and all this stuff. And you're like, okay, shit, we should do that. But right now we have these other fires we got to put out. So you
Mhm.
end up in places where it's like, eh, building a feature is great because we want to push these out. We want to keep exploring space to be like, what's going to help, this, that, and the other, and all this is going to be good. And then you can build on the things that are capturing people's attention and they're working for them and then double down on those and start deleting stuff that wasn't good.
Yeah. I think what's hard too is sometimes you don't even know if something's good or not until it's out.
Yeah.
Like exactly what you just mentioned with live feed or just any tool we make. Like there's been tools we've made where, yeah, like once a coach starts using it, all of a sudden it's a button click that there's so many different button clicks going on that it's hard to test every
Yeah.
little minute thing. And so like the importance of, the user feedback and also just yeah, using that and then implementing, the solve. One of the things like we're even switching to in the future too, by the time this episode's out, like it'll probably be done, which is like a beta group where as soon as we push something new, there'll be a group of coaches and clients that test it first for about a week or 4 days before
Yes.
it's launched to everyone else. Because what's oftentimes happening right now is we'll launch something, we'll realize there's a problem, like the RP slider, for example. I mean, if you want
Yeah.
to even get into like that one, that's a good example.
As far as, oh yeah, so like just like the use of it, the original one, you would open it up and it'd be set to 7, right? And people complain, why is it to 7? And like fundamentally you're like, what's the big deal? But then you realize like UX, like user experience, is very sensitive to so much. So when you open up the slider, at first it would be set to 7 and you would grab it, and if you wanted it to be 7, you'd have to slide it down, slide it back up to 7. So it's like an extra step. And then it was confusing, like what does the X mean? What does the check box mean? Why are they like this? It's supposed to be equal. We redesigned it. It's much better now. It's horizontal, which intuitively I think makes more sense. It looks more balanced on the screen from an aesthetic perspective. But now every time you do something, it tells you below the rating what's going on. The
Hmm.
slider starts in the middle, but it doesn't display a number. So there's no confusion. So you open it up, you can see, you can slide it one way or the other. You can get the number you want, let go. It'll have a description, 8, RP8, 2 more reps in the tank, whatever. Bing, bang, boom. That makes sense. We put out in the gym, we get 4 or 5 people come up to me and tell me, hey, I love this. It looks so much better. I love this description. It's so great. Weightlifter walks up to me and he's like, I have a thing I want to tell you about. And I'm like, what? He opens it up. He's like, shows me RP8. He's like, I don't like this for weightlifting because it doesn't make sense. And it's like, sure, I know that. And you realize like, what do we do? Right? What are the solutions? Do you build another version that shows some different thing based on the movements? Then it's like, are Olympic lifting movements not rated the same? Is it sort of just like a trade-off? Like, yeah, it's a RPE, but kind of, it's just a rating.
Yeah.
Do you take the description out and then upset the 5 people that liked it? It's always a game of like, you're gonna only build something that is great for some and other people not so much. You're trying to just make that great for some to be the biggest group you can, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and, like, to that point too, not everyone is the right coach to use the platform, and I've learned that too,
Yeah.
as I'm onboarding a bunch of coaches and gyms and stuff, it's like, I'll speak to a coach that has, like, a super specific way in which they program, and they use maybe a really, really complex spreadsheet with these crazy
Yes.
calculations, and I used to err on the side of like, "Oh, well, let me see, like, what we can
Yeah.
do,"
Yeah.
"Oh, let's go," and I'll go talk to Cushion you, and now it's like, "Okay, that's just unrealistic right now.
Yeah.
Like, we can't you know what? I'll
Yeah.
circle back with you when we've got, maybe this nailed down." But every coach, it's funny, it's crazy to me is like every coach has like almost like a different workflow. Obviously, I'd say 60% of coaches probably have the same type of workflow.
Yeah.
They program either weekly or by block. They give feedback either daily or weekly, and they either write templates or individualized training, and then that's the workflow. And
Yeah.
then I would say the 40 there's another 40% in there that like they program every Tuesday and Thursday,
Yeah.
and they batch release templates. They don't want, like, I was talking to Jared, wouldn't care if I talked about him. Jared Richmond doesn't like his athletes to see the workouts ahead of time. Like, he
Yeah.
was dealing with kids and he was telling me, I'm like, why? Like, why wouldn't you want, he was saying that he doesn't want the kids to actually have the app. He doesn't like when they can see the workouts. I was like, why? He's like, oh, bro, when you're dealing with kids, if they see on their phone, they just won't show up. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, dude, when I say we're doing squats today, you go, oh no, bro. Like, they don't want to squat, or they don't want to do a lift or a type of exercise. So he doesn't want them to see what they're doing, or he doesn't like athletes to know what they're doing ahead of time, because then they start even asking more questions or
Dude,
second guessing and things like that.
it's and there's stuff where you're like, okay, this guy programs, week 1, you do a 5 rep max, and then you use the week 1 5 rep max in week 3 as a
Yeah.
3 rep max. And then in week 7, and it's like all of programming is the same. And this is where I started with, and I want to continue to move this direction, is we are going to build a product that unfortunately and fortunately it'll unfortunately disappoint some in that less and less variety can be given. Like, as far as like, hey, I want to build a program. When we first made it, you could program an RPE, a percentage, and a weight all in the same set.
Yeah.
And none of them had to make any, like, it could be, 10 reps at 95% for RPE
RP's
3.
5. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's just numbers. It's just like displaying what I told you is text
Slop.
based, right? And as you trim it down to where I was like, no, let's link percentage and weight. So if you put in 100, it shows 80%. And if you change 80% to 85, it shows whatever, 105. We didn't do that with RPE. So what we need to do, and we're going to continue to do this, is our goal should be to get coaches, because we believe as a company, the best experience for an athlete is to receive reps and weight, the reps they do and the weight that should be on the bar, because ultimately that's how they interact with the actual gym. Is they have a number of reps they plan to do, and they're going to use this weight to do it. They don't look at a dumbbell. There's no RPE 7 dumbbell, right? There's a 35-pound dumbbell. So I see it as like, we need to condense that to be an experience where when a coach programs, they say, what I want to say is, I want you to shoot for this goal, whether it's a percentage or an RPE, and you get this weight. And my system, the AI and the intelligence in the app, should give you the right weight. So that's going to be, at odds with some coaches who want something weird. Like, I want them to do RPE 7 at 80% and get 7 reps. And it's like, well, what are you asking
No.
for? We don't know. We can't
Yeah.
do that. We will lose those people if they really are set on that. But I think we gain more from providing a better solution to coaches that are doing things in a more in line with what we know to be right, or what we know to
Yeah.
be
And
efficient.
and that's funny too, because I was talking with the coach the other day who doesn't like to use percentages, but when I showed him that percentages populate with weight, he says, "Oh, I might actually start using percentages again."
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And
the
that's a great
exact
example where
use.
it's like, you can write templates now in percentages in our app and assign them to 10 different people, and their maxes populate for them. That makes being able to deliver an experience to athletes so much better. Everybody likes having the weight in the field. No one has ever told me, I'd rather not see how much weight it is. I want to pull a calculator out and figure it out on my own, right?
Yeah.
RPE is one of the funny things, because not everybody uses it. No, in my experience, no clients like RPE. It's a broad enough statement. Obviously some do, but like, everybody's like, just tell me what to do. Tell me the
Mhm.
number. Even your coaches, right?
Yep.
They'll write an
We
RPE, then give a weight range. Like, why do you need the
Yeah.
RPE? Just give them the range. Like, if you know the weight range, they don't even need to think. but again, that's a way that people program. And it's like, we should be able to provide the solutions for the broadest spectrum of how people do stuff so that we're not sitting in a place where our app is like, oh, it's a great app. You just need to push this button, that button, this button. And then there's 2 drop downs, and then figure this out. And then there you are. And now you have the number. And then they might need to put in a secret code to get the actual weight. We want it to be simple so that when coaches say, hey, I know this guy, I want him to shoot for RPE 7s, and then week 2, 8s and 9s and blah, blah. It's going to give accurate numbers for them so they get what they want,
Yeah.
Dude, it's a
There's
a
so
wild
much.
game.
What moments in the journey thus far has made you feel like, okay, we're on the right path?
When you came on, 100%. Yeah. Cause
Okay.
it was when I reached out to you, I was reaching out to you to be like, dude, I need to get like a sales guy
Yeah,
to help
literally your
me.
text verbatim was, hey bud, do you know any salespeople?
Yeah, I was like, do you know any salespeople that would want to do this? And
Yeah.
I was thinking you would be like, oh yeah, I used to have this guy who did sales for me, and he's looking
Yeah.
for work. And I was thinking, oh, we'll do like a commission based thing. And then you came back and you're like, dude, I want to be part of this. And like, I'm sure we worked together a long time ago. We knew each other, but like you as an asset to me was like so valuable because I know how you are and I know you. That was like, if Zack wants to do this and he buys in, like, it's like, we got it. Like, it's like, it's to gas you up. It's like, remember that movie Troy?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When he
Yeah.
like, they call for Achilles and he like comes
Yeah.
out and everyone's looking at him like, oh, we did it. We won. It's over.
Yeah.
Like, I know what he's going to happen. It's going to happen. Right. And it was totally like that. I was like, yeah, Zach's
Yeah.
on board. I told Kush and I was like, you have no idea what this guy's like. I was like, I tried to tell him, I was like, he's going to be amazing. Like, you're going to be blown away. And he's like, okay. And then like a couple months in, he's just like, damn, we are so fucking stoked.
Fuck
But yeah, for sure. Cause it was like
appreciate that.
confirmation that like we had something that was right. We had a team that was right. Granted, there's a lot of loose
sure.
ends and ruggedness that we sort out as we go. But it's like, it's also the kind of thing where confirmation that someone who is capable and could do whatever they wants to do it is a huge thing.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too because like I mean, and we joke about this. Everyone we talk to, a coach is like, "Oh, I have an app idea." Everyone wants to build their own app, and I have, I have for like the last handful of years. I've been like, man, I feel like I was using TrueCoach for 8 years,
Yeah.
or Fitbot before that, right? Is the same thing. But I'd always been like an app should do these things. It should gamify training. A client should want to train. It should track these things, and they should be rewarded when they click these buttons. Like I had this idea in my head, and then at one point, I actually probably 3 or 4 months before you hit me up, I put out a thing on Upwork. I was looking for like an app developer, and dude, I got hit up like from like they found my personal email. They were calling the gym line. They were emailing the gym email to get in touch with me. It was crazy. I shut off everything. I was like, I'm not doing this. This is insane.
Yeah.
But I'd been wanting to do this for so long. But I also knew that what was perfect about us working together was that I would say you had an MVP. Like I was like, okay, like this is close to being something, and I can do what I do best, which is I can show up, I can talk to people and share this, and it's a good thing that I know will help them from like a business standpoint, all the things that I care about and care to talk about. Where I was like, oh my God, it's like the perfect marriage. I wouldn't want to be I want to be able to, I mean, this is our workflow for those listening. Like I listen to coaches, I listen to clients, and I tell Max, I say, Max, I think this should happen in the app, or I think I'm hearing this. And then Max goes and distills that down to say, okay, yes, I think this makes sense. And then has to sit down with Kush and our dev team and say, okay, here's the requirements for this task. I don't want to have those conversations.
No.
I don't want to be in those conversations. I just want to know shit's getting taken care of, and I can go talk to more coaches.
And that's what, you're so right. That's what makes the team, the three of us, work so well, because it's like, it's always going to level up, because Kush is an extraordinary engineer. He's really amazing. And his ability to adopt, and when I met Kush, we talked about some of the AI coding tools, and like maybe even like a year in when they kind of started to happen and become bigger, like when Cursor sort of first came out, he was like, so like, this is nothing. This is, this isn't going to help. Yesterday, I'm looking at his desk, and he has 3 different instances of Codex running, and he's building 3 different parts of the app at the same time. And he's just locked in, crushing it. And then, in a second, it'll be like, hey, what do we do here? What do we do there? And he obviously builds what he wants. He tells it exactly what he wants to do, but like the adoption and the speed of him doing that is so critical. If he was still like stuck in this world of like, oh, we're not going to do that, we would be trapped. You couldn't
Yeah.
develop as much as we have. I mean, it's hard to make a sense of it because you're looking at a product that's like what we started with, let's say in March to where we are now. That amount of development is crazy. We have more features and we do more things than TrueCoach does.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
TrueCoach has had 10 years plus to develop what they have. And the reality is what's coming in the next, by the end of this year, is going to be 100 miles ahead. All the Kush built the entire AI agent framework. He's finished it up the other day. And it's like, we're talking now about like, we can just make features up on the spot. And it's not a feature. It's just like, tell it what you want it to do. Ask for this data, ask for that data. He's like, there'll be so many features we can build instantly because there's no UI needed. There's just the query and what the prompt will be for the LLM to look at like data or this or that. And it's like, it'll be kind of nuts, like where the speed that we can start to push out reality will grow so fast that I think it's like, having that ability to be like, exactly what you want. You're telling coaches, hey, here's what the thing is. You come to me. I can say to Kush, hey, this is what it has to do. It has to look like this and that. He builds it, and then he shows me, and I'm like, no, it needs to do this and this. Don't make that button move. Do this, do that. And then like suddenly you have the product, right? And then it goes to testing. That process has gotten better and better over time, and it requires all of us to level up.
I think a lot of, like when we talk to those coaches that are like, oh, I have an app idea, I think this was what I thought it would be like. Not the scenario I thought it would be like is this. It was, I have an idea. I tell a developer, build this. And then they come back and they say, here it is. It's done. And I go, looks good. And that's what I thought it was. And obviously what I've realized, like we have like a 3-way connection here. Like this is how we're operating. This is, there's so much more that goes into it. Because developers, they aren't the end user. And even if they are, they have such like this biased opinion to the build. You even mentioned, give the example of the percentages of missed versus makes. I think that's a great.
So the other day, we have this thing that we're adding. So the real time like RPE calculation, right? Where it's calculating your estimated max. That's like that feature in and of itself, it would be extremely hard to just describe to a developer to build because you have to have deep, intricate knowledge, of exactly what RPE is going to mean at sets of 2 or sets of 6 or whatever, and how that translates to estimated max. Then you have to have, like when he and I are doing anything, I can see it instantly. He pulls it up and he opens the RPE table. I'm like, it's wrong. That's wrong. This is wrong. It would take him half an hour to sort of double check, right? But we build it so this is RPE table. Every movement will have its own RPE table that's basically adjusted for you based on your ratings. Because of that, we're going to, we tabulate all of the ratings you do. So the missed lifts are also calculated. So we want to show that to users. So when you click your estimated max, you can see what your RPEs are for any one rep set range combo. And then below it'll say number of missed lifts and number of made lifts, or as a percentage. And the engineer in him is like, we'll just show success rate, 74%. And I'm like, no, you got to show missed rate also. Because in your eye, like I know the user, they're going to look and they're going to see one thing and then they're going to be like, what is the miss rate? Even though you can do the calculation, because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know if there's some other data I'm missing. But when you like complete this loop and you see it as like, hey, 67% success rate, 23% miss rate. You got it. Or, it's 23%, right? No, 33%. 33%. Whatever. Don't worry about the math part. But yeah,
that's why you need this feature, or else you could think that it was 23%.
But again, it's about the extra processing to do the math is not worth it for somebody. They won't look at that number again and again because it means nothing to figure it out. You need to open it up and the little red thing says you have 2 notifications, right? The little thing says you missed 7% of your lifts. And then the information, the explanations need to be like 3rd grade reading level, because not because people aren't smart, but because you have no need to process info. You just want it to be like, when you rate more sets, this number is more accurate. Okay, I got it. Rate more sets. That's a good thing. Right.
Well, the other thing too on that, I think with the mass adoption of AI, people are spending less time. They don't want to spend any time doing any sort of digging into any research. They just want to ask a model for an answer and they want an answer back. And so more and more, we're getting more and more impatient as people.
Yeah.
in
Oh, for
just
sure.
in the world. And so the more that we can just throw an answer at someone's face without them having to dig further is probably a good thing.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's gonna be one of the benefits too, as we really get into the AI space, is like just being able to ask the app about your stuff. Tell me about this. Tell me why this person's not getting better. And it's not gonna be like me telling you, but it would be understanding to be like, hey, here's the data points that are relevant. Do you want to know more data points? Right? You'll be able to have conversations with the app that'll basically give you this idea of like, oh, I get it. Like maybe I need to make the bench press heavier, right? And if that doesn't work, it doesn't mean that the app is wrong. It's just like it's giving you information and intelligence that you wouldn't have before. I have a question for you. I think that's interesting is in this process, right? When you start with this idea that like, oh, we're going to go out, we're going to hear from people, then we're going to build the thing, then they're sign up. How has it been different now that you understand like the difference between like customers and users, or customers and people that say they'll be a customer if you build XYZ feature?
Yeah. So I think step one is always going to be, I think I was reading Jim Collins' book a while ago called like Crossing the Chasm. And he talks about like
Hmm.
early adopters. I forget all the types of, names of the
Yeah.
different stages, but like where we're still probably at is going to be your early adopter,
Yeah.
someone that's down to make a change. They're open to change. They
100%.
want to be better and they like the tools and the functions. And they're probably more tech and data forward because that's
Yeah.
sort of who we're speaking to. We're not going to convince the personal trainer that has notebooks for each client,
Yeah.
tracking each workout and seat setting on
Yeah.
their exercise machine at the gym to switch to our app. And so what I've had to change my mentality from I want to get everyone on this thing, like because
Yeah.
I'm always this abundantly minded, optimistic person where it's like everyone should be on the. If I the minute I'm like the vegan that tells everyone they're vegan. Like if I believe in something, like everyone's gonna hear about it. Cold plunge. That's how it was with cold plunge. And so I've had to change my mentality to like just almost being like okay with rejection and being like, yeah, actually this isn't the right fit. Or not even I'll meet with coaches, for podcast planning or things like that, learn about their business. And I'll even be like, yeah, we have this app thing, but it's not even worth talking about,
Yeah.
honestly, because like I don't think it's the right solution to your problem. What's funny is it's like the law of attraction. Then they're actually interested. Like, whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. Right. Right.
what are you talking about? And
You
I'm like,
shoot
well,
yourself in the
okay,
foot.
you want to see? I guess I'll show you my thing. But I've become better at like being okay with that and not needing to have every single call be like a win or whatever,
Yeah.
but meeting people where they're at, understanding who our true person is. And my thought on this is always like, number one, so I'm a customer, like my gym uses the app. And so for us, number one, the clients need to be having a better experience
Yes.
than the app we used before.
Yeah.
So if the coach's experience is equal or or the same, it doesn't matter. Like first foremost, the customer must have a better experience and get more value from the coaching because of the app.
Yeah.
Number two is the coach. So from the CoachLogik business standpoint, for me as like a demo person, onboarding person, like I need to provide more value to coaches. This app should provide 2x, 3x, 10x the value that a coach was getting from their previous thing they were doing. So if they were using spreadsheets, like I need to make sure that they're getting more value from our app than they were from their sheet. And for those using more basic spreadsheets, they're probably going to. If they
Yeah.
have this spreadsheet they used for a decade with these super specific formulas that was engineered, might be a little bit different. And so I've gotten a little bit better understanding who our client is. And I think that's the best thing to do in business. It's like you can sit there and drop. I remember when I hopped on, I immediately made you 3 client avatars. Like, here's who I think we're
Yep.
speaking to,
Yep.
these 3 people. And it's not that I was wrong, but it was like what I should have done. It's maybe good to have that plan, but there's no point in sitting down with a notebook and trying to figure out who your client avatar may or may not be. Just go and do the thing. And then the universe will tell you really
Yeah.
quickly who it
100%.
is and then who we need to double down on.
I think of it as like, I'm not sure how much you believe this, but I think if we do this same podcast in a year or 2 years, it'll be like this thing of like, yeah, we were right in a lot of ways to be aggressive and move fast and try and poke at everything. And then once we started realizing the things we're poking at aren't worth it, and we really focused in on what was right, that was the right trajectory. Because again, like it's one of those things where, like you just said, just get out and do it, right? The faster you move, the faster you fail, the faster you can get to the right thing. And instead of sitting in a spot where you're building, and then you think you did it right and you nailed it and you release it and it's just a flop because no one wanted it, because no one was asking for a thing that did this XYZ feature. It's like you wasted all of that time and money and development, everything, and realized like, oh wait, hold on, that's not what they're looking for. They want this thing. right?
Mhm.
And it's, there's a lot to be said for many reasons why that happens. You're not solving a problem, et cetera. But yeah, I think I mean, this is a strategy we've used. Hopefully it's right to be
Yeah,
aggressive
and we won't
and
know
yeah,
until later. And I think in business, I always say like 99% of things you do actually won't matter, but it leads you to the 1% that does. And
yeah,
those 1% things are like true exponential growth levers. But like the only way you figure that out is to have like thousands and thousands of iterations of failure to figure
yeah,
out the thing that it leads to success. And so I even think like number one, even for just a gym owner or coach, if you're trying to make a decision on a change in your plans or offerings or opening a gym or whatever, ask your clients always for the answer.
yeah,
They have, and then understand that you now have to filter that through and figure out, okay, what makes sense. Because a client could say, if I ask my clients what they want in our gym, they're going to mention $100,000 worth of equipment and
yeah,
10,000 square feet and stuff that's unreasonable. But there's probably some going to be some nuggets in there that are actually like, oh wait, actually, I can do that. I can do bring donuts and coffee every Saturday. That's not a big deal.
yeah,
And if that makes people super happy, it works. My last piece I wanted to
yeah.
before we sign off here was, and this is going to be a tough one, but I'm interested a year from now. Yeah, so it's September 2026, let's say. What do you think the app looks like?
I think it's gonna look two ways. It's gonna be a very minimal UI. There's gonna be a lot less happening in the app. I think it's gonna have a way, way deeper, like interactive, like AI, sort of feel where it's like it's probably gonna feel very much more like an assistant. Like you're gonna talk to it and tell it to do stuff, and it's gonna do 80%, 85% of what you need to do. And then you're going to be doing the most important stuff like dealing with clients, feedback and communication.
And so like what I'll put that in layman's terms for the normies like me. That looks like, there's an AI pretty much chat bot, assistant coach bot that you could say add progression, add
Yeah.
percentage to these lifts next week. Dropped off these movements. This client doesn't like Bulgarian split squats. Make sure I never program Bulgarian split squats for this client again. Take out all of these in the next
Yeah.
12 weeks of programming. Swap them for lunges and things of that nature is kind of what you're speaking to.
Yeah. And I think it'd be the kind of thing where it's even like you would have like an onboarding call, or you'd have like a document for each client where you're like, let me tell you about Zack. This is Zack. He's, a 28-year-old dude. He works, he loves lifting, he loves to push hard, but you got to be careful, too many squats. Like, don't do this. And you build like a
Yeah.
profile and describe it. And then the AI would build it and you'd refine that program. Be like, okay, this is him. This is Avatar. Now take that program and make that into his profile. And then it would be like every time you're like, hey, Zack needs a new week. He's going to be training for a competition. Build that first week of programming. We're 17 weeks out. And it would build that and then start to progress you from there. And it's
Yeah.
not that the AI is doing it. It's just like you're telling the thing like assistant coach, do this. Okay. Then you go approach it and you're like, okay, let's change this, change that. Move is Tuesday, add some sets here and then continue to refine it. But you're not going to sit there like copy paste, add blah, 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 blah. Right.
Mhm.
And we're getting close
Yeah,
to that
it's
now, even, right? In some ways.
Yeah, I mean, the whole goal here is coaches have to spend less time clicking and dragging and typing. And
Right.
if the app is controlled by an agent, then that stuff can happen for you on the back end. You could write it in the prompt and then go look at some other client's program or go and coach on the floor real quick, come back, and then the work has been done and you can check it over. Okay, the app, this looks good, or oh,
Yeah.
let's swap it with this.
For me, I
Yeah,
want it to yell at me. I want it to tell me like, "Hey, you got to give feedback to this guy right now."
yeah, yeah. Or like, hey, this client's probably at risk for churn because they haven't
Yeah,
lifted in 2 weeks or a week.
yeah.
Hey, might want to check in. Do you want us to send a check-in text?
The
Yes.
reality
Okay.
too is a lot of these things, a lot of this stuff and features will happen really rapidly because the technology you need to do one of them is the same you need to do all of them, and
Mm,
the implementation is really fast because it's all prompting and text based stuff. So it's like we can just start cranking these out and building these features based on what people want.
100,
Yeah. So I'm excited.
100%, man.
I
Yeah,
think it's gonna be
I'm stoked too. Great episode, dude. Good
yeah.
update.
That was good.
Sweet.